Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of Reddit Podcast Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. My friend and his fiancé are demanding to live with me. After that, am I the jerk for prioritizing my parrot over my stepdaughter's wedding? And after that, break a leg, boss. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen does not get to demand to live with anyone. Like anyone would even want to live with you, Reddit boy, in your dilapidated shack. So please smash that like button. And subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. My friend and his fiancé are demanding to live with me. To me, this is simple that I've done nothing wrong, but some people are saying I'm the jerk, so I'd like the opinion of this fine sub. So I'm 28, male, and my friend Tom is 29, and his fiancé, Kat, is 31. Recently, Tom and Kat have come into financial issues and are unable to pay for their rent. As it stands, they can either move in with Kat's parents, who live roughly 2 hours away, or they can move in with me until they find another place to rent. Now, they would rather move in with me. I live alone in a 3-bedroom house, so I have the space. It would be easier for them as they can stay near our other friends and close to Tom's work. There's also a lot of parks nearby that Kat can take her dogs to for walks. That's all well and good for them. However, the idea of living with someone, let alone 2 people, does not sit well with me. I have 1 bedroom where I sleep. The other 2 bedrooms are my home office and my library. Furthermore, I love the feeling of coming home to an empty house. Everything is where I left it, and I can properly unwind. Also, living alone makes it easier to bring girls over. So I told Tom and Kat this, and they were not happy. They called me selfish for not sacrificing for them. They said a true friend would help. So I told them the blunt truth. I would be happy to help Tom. He works full-time and would respect my space. But I did not want Kat to live with me. Reasons being, she doesn't work, so she would be in my home much more than me. Her dogs are inside dogs, and I don't want that at all. And I told them that Tom has told me privately he gets frustrated that he comes home from work and still has to prepare dinner and do most of the chores. I told Kat she's lucky she's with someone who tolerates her and loves her, but I'm not like Tom. I'm not dealing with it. Kat breaks down crying at this point and calls me evil. I apologize to Tom and I tell him he knows my stance. This happened late last year. Right now, Tom and Kat are living with Kat's parents still, and I know it's hard for them. My mates know how Kat is and told me I did the right thing. However, people who are close to Kat are saying I'm a terrible person and I put them in a situation which might ruin their relationship. So, am I the jerk for not letting my friend and his fiancé move in? OP stands up for himself, sets boundaries, and gives a Karen a reality check. Let's see what our friends on Reddit have to say about him. I don't think your comments about Kat were appropriate. It's not your relationship, so it's not okay to tell her those kinds of things. The stuff you said about the dogs is fine. What you said about her being home more than you is fine. Questioning her commitment to Tom is not, even if she is a bad fiancé. You don't actually need to give any reason why you want to live alone, which is why the personal comments were even more unnecessary. You're the jerk. I was firmly prepared to say not the jerk until the part where you apparently publicly told them both what Tom had told you privately about Kat. As far as not housing them, that's fine and not what makes you the jerk. But you didn't need to go into every little detail, and especially didn't need to betray Tom's trust like that. Your handling of the situation is what makes you the jerk. You're the jerk. Not for deciding not to rent space to your friends, that's your choice, and you had several valid reasons for not wanting to, specifically these 2, as roommates. But telling Kat that she is the main reason and spelling it all out was unnecessarily harsh. Just tell them you don't want 2 dogs living in your house, and that's enough of a reason, or something else. No need to list one of the person's character flaws, whether they are valid or just as you see them. Everyone sucks here. Sure, it would be convenient for them, but it's ultimately your house, and anyone who expects you to go out of your way to home them is plain wrong. The next time anyone complains, ask them to volunteer their own house since they're so eager to offer up yours. On the other hand, what you said to Kat is excessive. You also shared something Tom told you privately, violating his trust. Not the jerk. Imagine if OP was a female and didn't want her friend and the boyfriend moving in because dude was a lazy slob who didn't work or help with any chores. Would you all be tearing OP apart for not wanting them staying with her if that were the case? Of course not, because Reddit hypocrisy. Everyone sucks here. They should have accepted your no and not tried to guilt you into accepting them to move in. You should not have betrayed your friend's confidence about what he said about his fiancé. I get that you were frustrated by them being pushy, but you didn't need to go to that extent to achieve your goal. You chose the nuclear option because you knew it would end the argument. Now you deal with the fallout. Good rule of thumb. If you're going into a fight with he said, she said facts as your weapons, you've already chosen poorly. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his friend and the fiancé? Please let us know. I'm proud of OP for not being a pushover, and it's a shame how all these little goofballs can't handle the truth. Am I the jerk for prioritizing my parrot over my stepdaughter's wedding? So I'm the owner of a wonderful rescued parrot. She's a wonderful bird, but has a lot of issues due to her former home. I've had her for 3 years, and since then haven't taken any vacations or trips away, as it would be too disruptive for her. She distrusts everyone and is very reliant on her routine. I love her deeply, and I'm happy to make sacrifices for her. They are permanent toddlers and very intelligent birds. I met my husband by the time his kids were older. My stepdaughter was 16 at the time. We married when she moved away for college. Nevertheless, I thought we had managed to have a decent relationship until now. My stepdaughter is getting married in March, and naturally, there are a lot of preparations involved. They're wanting a huge traditional wedding, and she's stressed out of her mind. They live out of state, and she invited me recently to come visit for a week to help make wedding plans and spend time with their 2-year-old. I declined, and she insisted to know why, acting very hurt, and I explained the parrot. Well, it all went downhill from there. She caused a massive fuss with her dad, saying she never got a mother figure and I never accepted her as my full-blood daughter, and this is the ultimate snub for a silly animal. That I'm cold and emotionless. I feel really hurt, and I can tell he agrees with her even though he's refusing to take sides. But I don't see why I should be expected to take holiday time off of work to babysit and bond all of a sudden, and I don't see how I'm a monster for this. Am I the jerk here? Edit. Context of our relationship. We don't usually talk at all, and she hasn't visited home in 4 years. Edit 2. Beginning to think it was maybe a mistake posting this, mostly because this is a real and nuanced situation, and Reddit is no place for nuance, and maybe personal relationships shouldn't be judged in the jerk context in the first place, but also because I should be more understanding and a bigger person, regardless of who is or isn't the jerk. Life is too short to be upset and offended. I called my stepdaughter and told her that I understand this is a big moment in her life and she wants someone there to help and support her, and that I'm still willing to help her in any way I can to plan the wedding via Zoom and virtually. We talked a bit, and I asked why she hadn't accepted me reaching out in the past, and she apologized and said she didn't want to accept someone as a stand-in, fake replacement for her biological mom. But now she regrets it and would like a closer relationship, especially seeing how close her significant other is with his mom. We ended the conversation positively, and I'm hoping things can improve going forward. I told her I'm a crazy bird lady and asked her if she still wants a relationship knowing that, and she said that after the wedding, she's willing to travel to visit us if we have room, which we do. I'll leave this post up, but I'm happy either way, and I'm glad the feedback here motivated me to make the call. Question: are you literally never going to leave the bird ever again? If so, that's not healthy. OP: no, I'm working up to her eventually being more independent, but it takes a long time to heal trauma with these birds. They have very strong memories, and I've only recently reached a point where she's finally becoming more comfortable. I rescued an African gray about 30 years ago. It does take time, but it's been 3 years. It does not take that long. My gray was fine after 3 or 4 months. It's not fair to say, my animal healed from trauma this fast, yours should too. My mom rescued a 1-year-old Chihuahua, and it was about 9 months before he'd even let us pet him. He's now 7, and just in the last year started showing interest in playing, as he would try to play previously and get too scared. There's no rule book for how quickly animals will heal from mistreatment. This isn't an animal you can simply drop off at a pet sitter. OP could lose the bird's trust if the bird thinks OP has abandoned them. Same time, you're already associating bonding as being a free babysitter. Also, a last-minute one at that. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. Just sounded a little callous. But then again, you are not obligated to be her babysitter. Not the jerk. I'd normally say you were a jerk for putting a bird before family, but you've made it clear she's been pretty distant with you. The thing about relationships, all relationships, is they require effort and attention. Just because you're related, by blood or law, doesn't mean someone is entitled to your presence, especially if the relationship isn't exactly a good one. You aren't the jerk. I assume if your relationship were better, you'd make more of an effort. You're still going, so it isn't like you're skipping the wedding. Not the jerk, I don't blame you. Edit. Also, my sister has twins, and more often than not, spending time with the kids means babysitting them. This doesn't sound like a vacation, but a desire to put you to work. Not the jerk. Parrots are not just birds like budgies where you can ask a pet sitter to feed them and water them one week. Parrots are like gifted kids who scream and can rip your fingers off. There's an 80-year commitment and often only bond to a single person. Birds in general are extremely sensitive to any environmental changes, so someone who doesn't know what they're doing can end up hurting the parrot. Shame on everyone for saying choosing an animal over family like it's a bad thing. The parrot seems more like family than her stepdaughter. If it was that big of a deal, then stepdaughter would help make accommodations rather than just want a babysitter. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her stepdaughter? Please let us know. You're not obligated to go out there and spend a week babysitting for them. I'd pick my parrot over her any day. Break a leg, boss. I worked in a horrible little discount grocery store. I worked in the freezer department, and due to the fact that people would hang out in our freezers to pass time when there was nothing to do, Rose put a rule in place that an employee with higher status was to accompany other employees into the freezer at all times. Now, most of the time, no one followed this rule because it was dumb and we still did our work. For context, the store closes at 8, but all of the back staff clocked out at 5. I usually was there a little after 5, just doing last-minute stocking and cleaning. Anyhow, one night, as usual, everyone clocks out at 5. I'm finishing up with the freezer stuff. Rose happens to walk over and ask if I was still clocked in. Oh yeah, she would regularly ask me to clock out at 5 but to continue working. So much fun. Anyhow, she asks whether or not I'm still clocked in. I say yes. She asks why there's no hot wings out in the front where customers could get some. I said we were out and would be getting them on Monday, but she said they should be here by Saturday night. I said yes, but the shipment would be getting here after I left. I wouldn't be able to put it out until Monday. She asks if we can take a trip to the back to double check. I said that I know we don't have any, but she says she's the manager and she knows we should have some because she has no idea what's going on in the back. I decide to maliciously comply. I say I can, but I need her to come with me. She asks why I can't just get someone from the back, but I tell her they've all clocked out already. She says fine, but that she needs a jacket. Since it's the summer, she didn't bring one, and all of the spare ones are too small. So we go into the freezer, me bundled up in my blizzard attire, her in a t-shirt, dress, bonnet, and sandals. So we go in. It's literally snowing. I start climbing up boxes, crawling under stuff, looking, searching for this mythical box of wings. After about 15 minutes of thorough searching, she asks if I found them. I said no, but per her request, I'll keep searching. The quest continues. Now keep in mind, these freezers are about as large as a large school cafeteria. It took me about 45 minutes to check through the entire freezer, detailed, to find the wings. I tell her I'm done in this one, and she, relieved, thanks me for looking. No, I say, this is just the first freezer. Still 2 more to look through. Her face drops. She says she thinks we're fine, but oh no, I insist. She said we should have some. I'm just following her orders. 2 hours and 30 minutes later, still no sign of the legendary chicken wings. We exit the 3rd freezer, and I swear her lips were blue. I shrug and say, I guess they aren't in there. She, relieved, says I can check out now. But oh wait, glorious day. The shipment of frozen stuff comes in. She wishes me luck and goes to leave, but I say, wait, I need to put this new shipment into their respective freezers, and I need a higher up to accompany me. She's clearly ticked off at this point, actively shivering, but hey, her rules, not mine. Another 45 minutes, give or take, and boy, were my hand warmers useful. All the crates full of frozen stuff is now in the freezer. But are we done? Nope. Since I'm still here, I might as well restock the shelves in the front of the store. And well, I need a manager to accompany me for that too. Before long, those chicken wings were out on the shelf, conveniently ready for customers to buy. At 8:30, I clock out with all of the front of store staff, and Miss Rose hangs out in the hot kitchen to warm up. $121 richer than when I woke up and went home and ate dinner. Come Monday, Rose announced that there were no longer limitations on who could be in the freezer and when, just as long as we kept our production on course. And I guess we did. Dumb rules, right? But it all worked out. I'm just happy she got cold feet when she did. It just sucked that she gave me the cold shoulder over her own dumb rule. Am I the jerk for bringing up her daughter getting expelled? This might be a little controversial, I don't know. But basically, my sister buys her kids, 3 boys under 10, whatever they want. But get this, they aren't spoiled brats. She's taught them manners, how privileged they are, etc., and will absolutely discipline them if they misbehave. But she has never said no to buying them a toy or anything unless it was harmful or whatever else. She thinks that if she can afford it, there's no reason to say no. Again, unless it's dangerous or something. The boys also have a room stocked with toys. It's actually pretty cool. They have their own rooms as well, but that playroom goes hard. I'm saying this as a 22-year-old woman. My sister's sister-in-law isn't a huge fan of this. She thinks that my sister is spoiling them, and that even if it isn't showing now, it's bound to make them misbehave in some way soon enough. My sister tells her sister-in-law to mind her own business. I'm on my sister's side simply because I know her. She's a wonderful mother and a teacher. Her sister-in-law is just jealous because of how close my sister is to her kids, because one thing about those boys, they love their mom. Her sister-in-law's relationship with her kids is complicated. Anyways, my sister hosted a girls' night with me, our sisters, and her sister-in-laws. Her husband was out and her kids were in bed. We were having a good time when sister-in-law left to use the washroom. All of a sudden, we heard a loud crash coming from the playroom. My sister almost had a heart attack, thinking one of the boys had snuck into the room and got hurt. Nope, it was just her sister-in-law. She was basically trying to take some of the toys and had put a couple in her bag. My sister was just shocked and asked if she was being serious. Her sister-in-law just shrugged and said that they have too many toys and the toys will probably be better off with less privileged kids. My sister told her to get out, but she kept arguing, saying that she's raising spoiled and entitled kids and that she's scared for the future generation. My sister was about to lose it, so I cut in and said that she should be concerned for her own kids, considering her eldest just got expelled for bullying. It went quiet and she started crying. She called me a jerk and said she was only trying to help and I had no right to bring up her daughter. She insisted that her daughter getting expelled has nothing to do with the situation and I was just trying to insult her. She did leave though. The rest of us helped clean up, but one of the sister-in-law's sisters said that I shouldn't have brought up her kids. I called her to talk, but she hasn't answered. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. Good for you for standing up for your sister. And what? Sister-in-law trying to steal her nephew's toys? Insane. She would not have left if you hadn't thrown that out there about her daughter. It seemed like she needed a reality check and you gave her one. Sister-in-law is jealous of your sister and her great relationship with her sons and good parenting. Good for you. Not the jerk. Your sister is doing an excellent job with her boys. The teen years can be challenging, even with good kids. Having a positive, healthy relationship going in makes it so much easier. Having a good relationship with your kids doesn't just happen. It's something that's nurtured from a very young age. Spending quality time doing things with them, allowing them to participate in decisions, teaching them to be respectful and considerate of others. Not the jerk. Her daughter being a bully is probably directly connected to her being a bully, like in this case towards your sister. Not the jerk. She was acting entirely out of line, essentially stealing from someone else's kids, and was planning on giving it to her own kids, assuming also the suspended child, which is rewarding bad behavior. She wanted to control how your sister parents her kids, but was insulted when you brought up her own parenting, or lack thereof. She can't have it both ways. As a side note, was she just expecting to fill her purse and walk out without your sister realizing toys were missing? What kind of Grinch nonsense is this? Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or sister-in-law? Please let us know. Am I the jerk for embarrassing my brother-in-law's new wife in front of everyone? For context, it was not my intention, but it was absolutely how it played out. My brother-in-law, husband's brother, was away for college for 4 years and ended up eloping with a woman he had known for 7 months. None of us knew her, not that it mattered, but we just met her for the first time back a few months ago. She seemed pleasant, a bit shy, which is to be expected, and a bit rough around the edges. No big deal at all, but just like fidgety, darting her head and looking behind her shoulder like someone was standing there when no one was. We found out a few short weeks later that she has bipolar, unmedicated, so her behaviors absolutely made sense. I'm an RN as well as a social worker, and I also have bipolar, but I'm medicated. On Saturday, mother-in-law invited the whole family down for dinner, and brother-in-law and his new wife, Hannah, show up and we got to chatting at the dinner table about her diagnosis. She brought it up, not me, but she knew I knew about it, so it started as small talk, I believe. Well, it didn't take long for her to dive deep into this conversation, using her arms and hands to talk. getting a bit loud. No problems, the family is loud, so she fits right in. But then she became angry over nothing. Started saying stuff like, "It absolutely repulses me that people without bipolar try claiming they are manic when mania is strictly a bipolar thing." I wasn't rude by any means, but I did correct her, quietly, and said, "Actually, mania comes in all forms, and it's not limited to bipolar disorders. Even people with brain tumors have been known to have manic episodes." She immediately said I was wrong, that her doctor told her it was strictly a bipolar thing, etc. So I just stood firm and said, "He's wrong," and even pulled up my medical ebook to show her the paragraph that speaks on mania and everything that can cause an episode. She refused to read it, so I just turned to my husband, who wasn't paying attention to us, and said, "Honey, you're a doctor. What causes manic episodes?" He starts listing off multiple things, including manic depressive episodes, seasonal affective disorders, postpartum psychosis, and schizoaffective disorder. Well, Hannah was ticked. She immediately said that we were just trying to one-up her and that she knew what she was talking about. My husband immediately said, "Obviously not if you're going to sit here, argue, and gatekeep symptoms of illnesses against two medical professionals." He then turned and walked off, leaving us at the table with both brother-in-laws, sister-in-law, and mother-in-law looking on. Hannah then starts crying, saying I embarrassed her on purpose for no good reason other than my pride, and stormed out of the room after screaming for everyone to stop staring at her. Brother-in-law is telling me I should have just shut my mouth and storms after her. I'm really confused if I'm the jerk here. ETA, making an ad to include some key points here. I was quiet throughout this entire conversation. I was speaking so no one else could hear, which is exactly why my husband, who was sitting directly beside me, had no idea what we were talking about until I brought it up to him in the conversation. She did not appear to be in any sort of episode when the conversation began, other than the first initial spew of how it repulses her. She calmed down immediately afterwards, and only slowly showed how manic she was after raising her voice at my husband for simply stating what can cause a manic episode that does not include bipolar. I was having what I thought was an academically correct conversation with an individual as small talk, mentioned in my post. She was the one who became loud and belligerent. No one at the table had any clue what me and Hannah were even talking about until Hannah started screaming at me over the table. It's my job as both a social worker and an RN to educate individuals whom are uneducated on their illness. So yes, that probably played a part. It's more dangerous to be uneducated than it is to be educated, and to be blunt, her doctor giving her false information to begin with is troubling in itself. Not the jerk. I hate it when I'm having what I think is a strictly academic discussion with someone and they start to take it all personally. Same. I work in healthcare and now I'm super skittish about answering general conversational questions. So often it turns out that they only wanted me to back up their self-treatment protocol or their perception of their condition even though I don't know anything about their health. Or they will ask me about a wellness influencer and I think they're asking a simple question, but really they get angry that I don't know who they are, and then get mad again because I say I can't comment on them without researching their credentials and their advice. Not the jerk. Hannah's diagnosis does not give her a license to rearrange reality as she sees fit, and she brought up the topic in the first place. Not the jerk. She embarrassed herself by doubling down. Sounds like you gave her plenty of opportunities to retract her statement. Not the jerk. She embarrassed herself. Your husband is absolutely right. She's gatekeeping her illness. I'm not sure where you should proceed from here, but going forward, I'd probably go low contact. If her whole family is with her on this, it'll constantly be brought up that this argument happened. I'd save myself the headache. You're the jerk. You can hide behind lots of different justifications, but the bottom line is you argued and were confrontational with a woman who you knew was feeling vulnerable and probably did so for bad reasons, such as a desire to dominate her. If you were as well informed as you claimed, you should know that an emotional reaction to a situation is 100% not the same as mania, and you might want to reflect on why you tried so hard to shame her. I don't think you're okay with brother-in-law eloping with a new woman you hadn't met. You spent a good amount of your post listing all the reasons you are superior to her, which seems unduly defensive. My advice is apologize to her, to brother-in-law, and your in-law family, and hope that you can be quickly forgiven. Make it your goal to ease this woman's entry into your in-law's family from here on out. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or sister-in-law? Please let us know. Believe it or not, you don't always have to correct someone in a conversation if they're academically incorrect about something. There are some people out there who you're better off letting them believe whatever they do and just, not dealing with them. Am I the jerk for bringing the receipts when my ex had me shunned from our mutual friend group? I'm 26, female, and my ex-boyfriend, 27, male, broke up with me a week ago. It felt sudden to me, and there was no warning it was going to happen. However, we handled it very amicably, in my opinion, and he wanted to try and stay friends. I met him online through a mutual friend and had been friends with him and the rest of the group for a few months before dating. When I went into the hospital back in August, I sort of just fell away from that group of people where I couldn't be online. However, one of our mutual friends had caused a lot of drama and we both cut her out of our lives because it was very toxic. Now, in December, she reached out to me, apologized, and we started to talk slowly again. My ex-boyfriend during this whole time would message me and tell me over Discord that he couldn't stand her and said that I could talk to her, but he was completely done with her. I'd always ask him about hanging out with other friends or playing games with other people and encourage him to do so while I was sick and or offline. His responses were always, "I don't really talk to anyone anymore," or "I only want to talk and play with you." And when I dig deeper, he said they all just fell out of touch. Fast forward to the breakup. The first thing he does, after our apparently amicable and no hard feelings talk, was to go straight to that mutual friend he said he hated with a passion and tell her everything I ever did or said wrong in our relationship. He told her a private conversation we had where I jokingly brought up how often she cycled through flings, and then told her and every other mutual friend we had that I was the reason he stopped talking to everyone, that he was worried I'd get jealous or upset if he talked to or played with anyone else but me. Because, and I'm quoting him verbatim here, "I know how I would feel in that situation and I didn't want to put you through that." I'm sorry, what? So this friend came at me over DMs and asked why I would say and do such things. I was shocked and extremely hurt. I never would ask or make someone give up his friends or isolate them from anyone, as this seems controlling and I didn't want that. So my petty self said, forget this. I went through our past conversations, took screenshots, and privately messaged everyone he told this BS to, apologizing that I was the reason they lost their friend, then followed up with the pictures to prove he did this on his own and against my wishes. These photos may or may not have also shown the crap talk he said about that one mutual friend. He's been blowing up my phone since, asking how I could do that and call him out like that. All he wanted was a clean break and to get his friends back, and that I'm a jerk for making them question him. I haven't responded because in my opinion, he lied about me and our relationship to friends we both had, who then took his side, no questions asked, and kicked me out of their lives and Discord servers based off word of mouth. So Reddit, am I the jerk for sending proof to our friends? So not the jerk. I can't even imagine how twisted he got himself to try and throw you under the bus like that. OP, I assume it was his way of getting closure, but it was very cruel and so out of left field, especially since he was the one who broke things off. Not the jerk. He was the one to expose your private conversations by telling the one friend about the offhand comment you made before you got to know her better. And then he used that to start a smear campaign against you. If he's going to start some BS like that, he really should have thought things through. Yeah, you could have just walked away from that mess and the people who would blindly take his side without talking to you first, but revenge is so much sweeter. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. You just finished what he started. He wanted to show them one text that reflected you in a bad light, and you showed them all the text to clear up any confusion. Was it a jerk move on your part? Maybe, but it's a justified one. His way was manipulative, and yours was informative. I'm sure your friends are all a bit uncomfortable with being put in the middle of this, but they can all talk to him about that since he's the one to drag them all in here. I'm sorry your breakup wasn't as amicable as you thought. At least he's out of your life now, and you can see what a huge bullet you dodged. Sounds like a situation I was in with online friends. The guy tossed me under the bus to make himself look good and me look bad. I let it go at the time, but over the months and weeks after, they'd ask me questions, and I'd just share screen with them so they could see unedited Discord conversations. Your guy messed around and found out. He got exactly what he deserved. Zero sympathy for him. You absolutely dodged a bullet just like I did. Remember this going forward also. It's a life lesson. Not the jerk. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her ex? Please let us know. Life tip for more happiness. Stay off of Discord. Something about being in Discord servers just makes people want to fight and start drama with you. Stay off of Twitter too. You will be so much happier. Am I the jerk for making a scene and kicking my cousin out of a baby shower? My wife, 28 female, is pregnant with our first kid. She's about 5 months along, and I, 29 male, am very excited to be a father. This past weekend, we had a baby shower at our house. We invited both sides of our family rather than trying to do two separate baby showers. I have a cousin, Sue, who's 22, who I wasn't going to invite because she's very open about being child-free. She said some very out there things in the past about these topics, and I figured she wouldn't want to come even if we invited her. But after getting pressure from both my mom and Sue's mom about not leaving her out, I reluctantly sent Sue an invite, and to my surprise, she accepted. For the most part, things went well at the baby shower. But when my wife started opening presents, Sue kept making comments. First, it was about how much waste diapers create and how wasteful baby clothes are because they outgrow them so fast. Then it was about how so many babies and kids' toys are made overseas where workers are taken advantage of. Then, when my mom told us that they had already set up a college fund for our kid, Sue made a comment about how parents shouldn't force their kids out of the house at 18 and how if people had to support their kids all through life, maybe less people would have kids. It was at this point that I pulled Sue aside and talked to her in another room. I told her that if she hates the idea of kids so much, then she might as well just leave. She said she was just stating facts and that the truth can never be controversial. I told her that in that case, I have a hard truth for her. I told her that the only reason I invited her is because her mom practically begged me to, and I don't want her in our house and that she's no longer welcome, so she should leave. I must have raised my voice louder than I thought, because my mom and Sue's mom came into the room and asked what was going on. Sue said that I'm kicking her out because she's child-free. I told her I'm kicking her out because she's being a jerk on a day that's supposed to be about celebrating my wife's pregnancy, and all Sue is doing is making it about her BS beliefs. My mom and Sue's mom tried to calm things down, but I insisted that Sue leave right then and there, or I would be forced to call the police because she's currently trespassing. Sue grabbed her things and stormed out, and my mom and Sue's mom got mad at me. They told me that Sue was just stating her opinion and that some of the things she said are true. I told them that there's a time and place for that kind of conversation, and a baby shower sure isn't it. I told them this is exactly why I didn't want to invite Sue in the first place, and as far as I'm concerned, they're just as much to blame as she is. Literally, no one is happy, and the whole baby shower became about something else instead of focusing on my wife and our upcoming baby. There's a time and a place for stating your opinion. Being a jerk when someone is opening a gift and talking about how wasteful that gift is and so on is not that place or time. Not the jerk. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or Sue? Please let us know. People who spend their lives obsessing over the fact that others choose to have kids, people like that need help, bruh. Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video. Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.